What's going on YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BoxingWave10. We have a lot to discuss today. This is going to be a long show. I'm going to discuss a lot of things that's occurred throughout the week as far as news. I haven't done a video since the fight coverage I did last Saturday of Ryan Garcia defeating Luke Campbell. Okay, in his first step up at lightweight. He is currently the WBC interim champion now. All right. But I'm going to discuss everything. I'm going to talk about him. I'm going to discuss Tank Davis, possible matchup with him, Teofimo Lopez, Lomachenko, Devin Haney. I'm going to discuss a lot because there's a lot of news that's just been pumping out throughout the week. Also, other shows, podcasts, all of this stuff, rankings, titles, undisputed. We're going to talk about all of these things in this video right here and bring you up to date to everything that's going on. All right. First of all, I'm just going to let you guys know it's a little personal. Got some family things going on. Okay. Possibly involving COVID. Not going to get any more detailed than that, but part of the reason why I haven't really been on YouTube the last few days. All right, so after this video, I'm probably not going to be back on YouTube for a few days, okay, until everything gets cleared. So we're going to get through this video, all right? So let's talk about it. Let's start with Ryan Garcia. He beats Luke Campbell last weekend. He stops him. Some of the criticism that Ryan has received is not really warranted in my opinion. I know he got dropped in the fight. He got dropped in the second round. Finished off strong and got a 7th round stoppage from a body shot. Okay? The criticism of him getting knocked down is part of the test. And it's part of the way that he fought that fight. I don't think people understand what it's like coming towards a fighter that is not only a good counterpuncher, but just has so many tools in the shed like a Luke Campbell does. This is part of the reason why a lot of people thought that Campbell was going to win this fight, because Ryan has never been tested before. Hasn't fought a guy on this level at lightweight. The only up-and-coming guy that has fought a guy like Luke Campbell or better is Teofimo Lopez at this division. I mean, even Tank hasn't fought someone on Luke Campbell's level at 135. Okay, Tank fought Gamboa. Gamboa was great back in the day. Wasn't so great 2019, 2020 when Devin Haney fought him as well. All right. So Luke Campbell was a major test. And Ryan took the position of, I'm going to walk him down. I'm going to bully him. I'm going to attack him. Okay. And he started off that way in the very first round, fighting a southpaw that we haven't seen him face in a few years. Ryan doesn't have that much experience, at least as a pro, yet he fought a southpaw, went 3 years without fighting one, fought one, the best fighter he's fought, and fought very aggressively, came forward, walked him down, pressured him, and ended up getting a stoppage, something that no fighter has ever done. Luke has never been stopped. He's been down. He's lost before, but he's never been stopped before. Okay, Lomachenko didn't do it. Jorge Linares didn't do it. Ivan Mendy didn't do it. No one has done it. Okay, so very impressive to me. Yes, there's holes in his game. There's holes in Ryan's game. We knew this going into the fight, and some of those holes were exposed. But we got to remember, Luke took a certain approach in this fight. And if you want to get a stoppage, you have to fight a certain way. This fight reminds me of Terrence Crawford against Kavaliauskas. Now, going into that fight, I expected Crawford to win, but I knew Velasquez was a very, very dangerous puncher going into that fight. I didn't expect Crawford to come forward like the way he did. And what did we notice in that fight? In that particular fight, he got hit a lot by a puncher. Even got hurt at one point. Questionable whether or not he got dropped in that one round, okay, when he held on. But he got the stoppage. He got it because he had to fight for it. You take a different approach with Evie, like Felix Diaz, Terrence Crawford. Different approach in that fight. He was on his back foot. He worked behind the jab. He didn't fight him like the way he fought Velasquez. Every fight, you fight differently, depending on the opponent. And those are great signs of greatness, basically. Because we can see that he can fight a different way, depending on who he's facing. I thought Ryan was going to fight on his back foot. I didn't know Ryan. I thought Ryan, we all know he has a dangerous left hook. He has a good right hand. But I didn't know he was going to take that approach. I was waiting for the counter to come. The left hook counter. And it did. It hurt Ryan, hurt Luke. What was the end of that 5th round? He hurt him there, but he didn't put him away. It was the end of the round. But I respect him for wanting to put this guy down. And that's what he did. And he got hit a lot. He got dropped. But he got the job done. So I think the criticism of him isn't really warranted. Now, when it comes to Luke, people are upset that Luke didn't attack Ryan, especially when he dropped him, stunned him. Okay, I get it. But the thing is, I believe that Luke took that approach because Ryan was coming at him and he was setting up the shots, and Ryan was walking right into a lot of those shots. And when Ryan got back up, he went right back at Luke. He continued doing the same exact thing, even though he was dropped. And I think Luke was probably waiting and looking to set up the same shot, which he did. He actually hit him a couple more times with the same shot in that fight. I seen it. It's just that maybe he should have put a little bit more pressure on Ryan at some point, but he never did. So I understand a little bit in both ways. Like, yeah, you dropped the guy, you go at him. You said you were going to knock him out. So, yeah, you go at him. He never really went at Ryan. You're the experienced guy. You've been in there with Lomachenko. You've been in there with Linares. You've been in there with champions. He hasn't. So you put the pressure on him. So I get that. But I understand, too, that Luke was fighting a guy that was coming straight at him. Luke has the back foot game. He can fight going backwards. He can move side to side. He's the guy that is good at doing that. We knew this. We knew this. And I said this is part of the reason why I picked Ryan at the very end. Logically, it made sense to pick Luke. That's why I said in the beginning, when this fight was announced, I said, oh, Luke got this. Ryan he doesn't have the experience. But as I started watching Ryan fights over and over again, even the ones with Morales where he got hurt and everything, I said, not for nothing, I don't really quite see it yet with him. But maybe in this fight, we'll see what this kid is really all about. And the thing is, I know what Luke has. I know how he's lost every time he stepped up. I just didn't trust him to close the show. And this is why I switched back over and said, Ryan's going to get the stoppage with a left hook. I didn't know it would be to the body, though. That I wasn't expecting. All right. Now, moving forward, Ryan is now the WBC interim champ. They're doing a lot of Twitter fingers with Gervonta Davis. Tank is doing a lot of talking online. Not the first time. Ryan's doing a lot of talking online. Not the first time. Tank came out and said the fight's already made. Yada, yada, yada. I don't believe that. It's kind of been confirmed that it's probably not made. Okay, guys are just talking, they building up the fight. If you've been watching boxing for a while, you kind of know that this is how it goes today. You know, a lot of pumping on the internet. You know, that's all it usually is. You know, I'm not saying that these guys won't fight eventually. I think they will fight. I think these two are most likely to fight each other. Okay, but all the talking online, I don't really believe the hype into that, because that's what we usually get from the boxers of today, especially the younger guys like these guys. These guys in their younger 20s. Okay. Now, would I like the fight? Yes. I would love to see that fight. I would love to see Ryan fight Devin Haney, you know, or whoever. The thing is with this, though, the WBC came out, Mauricio Solomon comes out and says, we're going to order a fight with Devin Haney. Cool. I have no problem with that. I'm tired of fighters dragging fights out. I know they want to build a fight, and I get it. I know here in America, build the fight first. You know, let these guys chase other fighters, blah, blah, blah. That's cool. I want to see the fight. It's too many of them. And I said this on the live stream the other day. I love the lightweight division. I like how it has so many of these younger fighters. Plus, you got the older active fighters like Luke and Lomachenko, and Linares still around. Comey is still around. Easter Jr., I don't know if he's going to go up or stay up at 140 or come back down. You got him still around. You know, you got Javier Fortuna still around. So soon some of these newer guys mix it up with the older guys. This is a great division. One of the best as far as if you're looking at talent, yes, one of the best. You know, and then you got Tank, who's kind of in the division, but not really in the division. And then you got Shakur Stevenson that's right under them too. Right? You can't forget about that. So I love the lightweight division. You know, maybe Miguel Burchell will move up eventually. Who knows? But anyway, you got all these guys, right? You got all of these guys. But for some strange reason, this division is giving me welterweight vibes. You know, too many egos, too much star power, too many undefeated records, too many guys that people want to protect. That worries me, because I can see certain fighters going up to 140 at one point. Once a really good lightweight fight is approaching, I can see one of them going up. I could see another fighter going down or staying down at 130. I could see that happening. Or I could see a whole lot of ducking, just straight up. Guys, I don't know, vacating titles. I'm not talking about anyone specific. I'm talking about within the next year or two. I can see a whole lot of that, depending on who's champ, who's not. I can see a lot of ducking going down. I can see a lot of network bullshit that we usually get. Promoter bullshit. You know, you got guys in this division. You got guys on ESPN and Top Rank. You got PBC fighters. You have the Zone fighters. You got Golden Boy fighters. You got a whole mixed bag. Everybody's with somebody else. So I can see a lot of problems occurring with trying to get the fights that we want with this division. So I was like, I like the division. I like who's there. But I'm sitting back and I'm waiting. And I'm looking to see, like, okay, let's see where this goes, because I'm not sure with all this. You know, how long would it be before we see some of these fights? Some of these fights already been building. Some of these guys are already familiar. Well, they are pretty much all familiar with each other. So who's really likely going to fight? You got Teofimo Lopez. Let's talk about him a little bit. So he's officially undisputed according to the WBC. The WBC changes their policies every day of the week. A lot of last year, since the franchise thing started, last year, a little bit of 2019 too, we've been discussing the legitimacy of that WBC title. How real is it? Who's the real champ? Devin Haney, fans, supporters, he's the real champ. He didn't win to claim that title. He didn't beat anyone to get that title. It was given to him, but it's because Lomachenko agreeing. Whether he asked for it or not, the WBC gave him the franchise title. Now, you didn't protest against it, so we look at it as in you knew you were going to get this title and it was going to remove you from world title, WBC world title status or whatever. And then that title was going to move down to Devin Haney. But I remember specifically when this franchise title thing first started, they said specifically, you are no longer the world title champion. We knew from the beginning, because we did videos on this back then, it never made sense from jump. It never made sense. All we knew was that you franchise, you no longer had to deal with mandatories. But that would never make sense then. We heard that Mauricio Solomon said it's non-transferable. But it is. Because now Teofimo Lopez is franchise champion. So they made a list of rules that came with this titles. And within a year, they didn't even stick to their own rules. And now they're making Teofimo Lopez undisputed without really giving, because there was an interview about it. Mauricio Solomon didn't really explain. I seen it on DAZN with Ak and Barak. He didn't really explain Devin Haney's situation. But this is what the WBC has been doing. The only thing is, I've always had a problem with it. In Loma's defense, the only thing I said in Loma's defense is that there was never a point where he actually ducked Devin Haney. There was never a point, because Loma got the WC title by beating Luke Campbell and didn't have another fight until he fought Teofimo Lopez, which was a unification match. So people that says Lomachenko ducked Haney, my response was, well, when was he supposed to fight Devin Haney? At what point? At what point was he supposed to fight him? It was never a point. He got his other titles. The WBC title came up. He fought Luke Campbell, beat him, and then went straight to Teofimo Lopez, who had another title, who just came off of beating Comey for. He did the right thing in my eyes. When was he supposed to fight Devin Haney? That's like saying, if Joshua, who's holding 3 titles right now, including the IBO, if he doesn't go and fight Tyson Fury next, or if he fights Tyson Fury next, he ducked Usyk. He ducks Usyk because Usyk is his mandatory. Or Pulev. No, as a boxing fan, I want undisputed first. And I know the trick with mandatory. Mandatories is funny. They pick and choose. They go, sometimes they enforce the mandatory rule. Sometimes they don't. So when it came to Devin Haney's situation, it was just a real messed up situation. But Lomachenko did the right thing because he went and fought the other champion. You have 3. He has 1. I don't agree with franchise, but there's a difference. I don't want franchise. I wish they never created that, and I wish Lomachenko didn't agree to it. But at the same time, Lomachenko won his title in a fight against a credible opponent. Devin Haney didn't. So if you guys want to dispute this whole undisputed thing, you can. I think Teofimo Lopez is a real champ. I think he is. All they pretty much did was transferred interim from world to super and just changed the names around. That's all they pretty much did in my eyes. They changed it from super, from franchise to world to interim. That's what they basically did because they had all three available before. They just changed the names. Now screws the fighters of all of this, yeah, because now they're making it official, but technically you're not official because Loma agreed to it. You know what I'm saying? And it should have never been a thing, but it was. So when it comes to Teofimo Lopez, what does he do? Does he fight Lomachenko in a rematch? A lot of people want it. A lot of people feel it's right. I'm either way, whether he fights him or not, I'm cool with it. If anybody deserves a rematch, Lomachenko does, because Lomachenko went into that fight as a cash cow, as the A side, and a guy that's holding 3 titles. But at the same time, why would you not add a rematch clause into this fight? Fighters with much less to lose, I mean, they even add rematch clauses. Teofimo Lopez says, nah, I don't want to rematch him because they was giving me all these issues. They didn't want to have a rematch clause, yada, 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 and their contract. Well, Teo, this is the thing. Going into that fight, you have one belt. This is Lomachenko. At the end of the day, they're going to cater to him more than you. It's just, that's the way the game is. You are a champion, yes, but you are not a superstar. You are not a pound for pound. You're not proven. So listen, they're not going to give you the same treatment they give Lomachenko. And that's what's just straight off of status. I know people are trying to make it about everything else. I'm just talking about pure status. Lomachenko is bringing more into this fight than you are. He's bringing everything more than you. But Lomachenko and his team made a huge mistake by not making it a rematch, putting a rematch clause in there. And that's why I say they totally underestimated Teofimo Lopez, which is their own fault. You don't go into that fight injured. A, you don't go into that fight injured. Second, you don't go into that fight without a rematch clause. What are you doing? Poor business. Poor. You know? I mean, I'm glad that he, took less in his purse in order to make the fight happen, because Teal didn't even want the fight to happen with the money he was getting. All right, I'm glad Lomachenko did the honorable thing in making that work out. But outside of that, it was just like, dude, what are you doing? You gonna fight this kid and think that you automatically gonna beat him with an injury too? Nah. I mean, me going into the fight, I thought it was a 50-50 fight. Clearly they didn't. They thought this was another fight, I guess. Now, Lomachenko and his supporters, some people think the fight was a draw. I didn't. I thought the fight was 8-4. I gave second view. I gave that second round. I think that was the most closest fight. I gave it to Tio. If I gave it to Loma, if I stuck to giving it to Loma, it would have been a 7-5 for me. All right. I gave Tio rounds 1 to 7 and the 12th round. All right. Rematch is warranted. But if Tio doesn't do the rematch, that's on him. He doesn't receive any slander from me because that was just poor decision making by Loma before the fight. And him going into that fight really injured, just really, like, seriously, bro. You can't even use an arm. Come on. No. No. All right. But if the rematch doesn't happen, I know Kambosos Jr. is a mandatory for one of those titles. I don't know which one off the top of the head, but I would like him to fight Devin Haney. And let's just end this whole title situation. I would love for him to fight Devin Haney. You know, now I know Devin Haney is gunning for all of these guys. Devin Haney is the only fighter that seems to be confident enough in his skills to want to fight everybody. He's the only one out of all of them, including Tank, who's willing to fight anyone. Tio Lomachenko. I've heard of him. Tio Lomachenko, Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, and he's even called out guys like Gary Russell Jr. He's called out guys like Adrian Broner. He don't care. He's so confident in his skills, he's willing to fight anybody. So if Tio wants to get the people to shut up outside of the Lomachenko people, if he wants to get the other people to shut up, fight Devin Haney. I mean, to me, Tio is the king right now. He's the only one that's really proven at 135. He's the man. Whether you think he's undisputed or not, he is the man at 135. He beat Comey and then beat Lomachenko. He is a man up there. All right? Officially. Not emotionally. Not the eye test. No, he did what he needed to do. He has the best resume out of all these new guys. By far. By far. Not even close. You know? But it's up to Tio, man. He has a lot of options, man. He has a lot of options. He has a couple mandatories. He got, you got Haney, you got Lomachenko rematch. I personally think Lomachenko rematch, for the people that really want the Lomachenko rematch because they're so confident in Lomachenko, just know that Lomachenko, I'm sure, is going to put more pressure on Tio. But hopefully Lomachenko is well coming off of the injury. Not only that, but hopefully that Lomachenko don't go into that fight thinking I'm going to come at him early with the same kind of pressure, because he would mess around and get knocked out too. He's still fighting a big puncher who has experience in fighting him now. So he still has to be careful. Don't just think automatically that Loma's going to do better in a rematch, because he may do worse. You know? Devin Haney. I like Devin Haney. What I think about Devin Haney, when I think of him, I think he can neutralize just about all of these guys. I think why people don't like him is that they think he's boring. You know, a lot of people compare him to Floyd. I wouldn't so really compare him to Floyd. First, because I listened to him. I listened to his $1 million worth of game interview. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It's by a rapper called Gilly the Kid and his cousin Wallow. It's a podcast. It's not a boxing podcast, but Gilly the Kid is familiar, with boxing. And I checked out the podcast, and Bill Haney was on there, and it was a good show. And Devin Haney exposed a lot, talked about sparring, told sparring stories and all that. A lot of fighters are doing that now. At first, I didn't really like it because he was talking about even going as far as his sparring section with Floyd, and he was doing a lot of talking. He said a lot of things that, I guess the fighters always feel like sparring should stay in sparring. But the reason why At first, I thought it was a little funny of him talking about his sparring session with Tank. But at the same time, when a fighter that you sparred with and you know you had you bested in the sparring session is doing a lot of talking online and you calling them out and you want the fight and you've been calling them out for a while, yet they won't fight you, but they're still talking a lot. At that point, I'm like, all right, you know what? If you're gonna talk about this sparring session, or if you're gonna release the video and all that, because they keep talking, but they refuse to fight you, I don't have a problem with it then. Then I'm like, all right, it is what it is. Because Tank is doing a lot of talking, but he won't fight you. Devin is willing to fight you. You won't fight him, but you keep talking. You keep doing a lot of talking. So I get it on that end. Now, Devin don't have the greatest resume yet. Gamboa was his best win. I personally think Santiago was a better opponent for him at the time because Gamboa is past it. He's past it. He's past it, and he doesn't look good. Yes, he has a lot of experience, but Gamboa is a fighter that is explosive, and if he's not explosive, if he's not as fast, he's not as sharp, his legs are gone. Legs are gone. It wasn't just a Tank fight. They were gone in the Devin Haney fight. All right? If he's not as fast, explosive, all of that stuff, he's not Gamboa. He's not Gamboa. You know, it's like comparing Roy to what he is now when he could still bang. But if you comparing what Roy is after those first couple of losses comparing to when he was at his best, it's not the same thing. And it's not even close. And Gamboa is that because he was a crazy, super athletic fighter. But now he has to focus relying strictly on skills, and it's not really there. It's not really there. I'm sorry. It's not. Santiago, to me, was his best win as far as what I seen in the ring. Eye test, Santiago was doing a lot more with Devin Haney than Gamboa, in my opinion. And Santiago is not there. Gamboa and Santiago, whatever you pick, neither one of them compared to Luke Campbell. Ryan just beat him. Teofimo Lopez win against, what's this guy? Teo's win against Lomachenko and Colmay. Okay, and Nakatani. Nakatani's win against Verdejo is a better win than anything that Devin Haney has right now. Because Verdejo is better than Santiago. He's better than Gamboa right now at 135. Gamboa ain't really proved much of anything at 135. He hasn't. Because when he just entered the division, he eventually had to fight Terrence Crawford. And Terrence Crawford got him out of there when he was still closer to his prime. That was a good win. But these guys beating up on Gamboa in 2019 and 2020, nah. But I understand. See, the thing with Devin Haney, though, is that no one will fight him. No one is going to fight him unless they have to. None of them are going to fight him. And I see what the WBC then did by ordering. They're not going to fight Devin Haney right now. They can order whatever they want. That fight is not happening next. It's not going to happen next. Listen, I like the win with Luke. And I know Luke is a lot more proven than Devin Haney. Devin Haney is a harder fight for Ryan Garcia. Straight up. I could be wrong. And I get the arguments. I know you guys are going to say in the comments, Devin Haney hasn't done shit. That's cool. I'm just saying it how I see it. I can't prove it. But on the eye test, Devin Haney is a more dangerous fighter than Luke Campbell. Ryan's not going to be going in there and just walking out down this kid like that. He's going to get hit. He's going to get touched up. Now, would Ryan beat him? I don't know who's going to win the fight, but I'm just telling you that Ryan can't take the same approach, just bullying the guy. He bullied Luke because he knew how Luke lost before already. He already seen him get bullied by Mendy. He seen him get bullied by Lomachenko. They already knew what the game plan was going into that fight. You think he could do the same with Devin Haney? Especially because he's lost to him in the amateurs? No, it's a different kind of fight. You know? Now Devin Haney got to get in there with somebody because he didn't fight the best yet, but who wanted to fight him? No one has wanted to fight him. Will Teal fight him to prove that he's the real WBC champ? No, he won't. WBC already made him mandatory this week. Mandatory, undisputed this week. He doesn't have to fight Devin Haney, and he doesn't want to. He's already expressed that. He doesn't want to fight him. He doesn't want to fight him. Ryan wants to fight him later, wants to fight Tank first, and Tank doesn't want to fight Devin Haney either. Who wants to fight him? Nobody wants to fight him. Nobody. Why? What is he, bad? He's not a bad fighter. He's a very good boxer. He's a very good boxer. You know? And I think the problem with him is that, he may not get the knockouts like Tio or Tank or Ryan Garcia, but he might outscore you all round, all fight long. That's what Floyd did. He might not get the knockouts, but you can't touch him. And that's why guys say he's boring. He's not going to bring the fight. He's not going to bring the fight. Well, that's what fighters do when they know that they can outbox you. You know? When they know they are fearful that you might be able to outbox them. It's a boring fight. You know, Mikey Garcia was willing to go up there to fight Errol Spence. He didn't want to fight Terrence Crawford. Why? It's funny how he said that. Why did he say, oh, it's boring, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to make a better fight, think the Spence fight. Really? You know what that was about. There's a reason why he didn't want to fight Terrence Crawford. And honestly, bigger than you and hit harder than you, but he probably outbox you too. At least the Spence thing, we was kind of unsure what Spence would do as far as boxing ability, you know? So you took your chances with him instead. We knew what that was about. Devin Haney, though, I think, he has to make his own lane because Ryan already beat. If he can't get Ryan in the ring, and I don't think he's gonna fight Ryan next, but if he can't get Ryan in the ring, he can't get Tank and none of these guys because they don't really want to fight him. You have to create your own lane, bro. Pick up all the other guys that are good, just like Terrence Crawford. I say the same thing. Yo, pick up these other guys. Who's available that's not PBC, that's good. Beat them all up. Same thing with Devin Haney. Who's available? Javier Fortuna is available. He want to fight you. All right, well, you fight him then. You almost fought Luke. You were supposed to fight Luke originally. You were supposed to fight him there, but that fight didn't go down. All right, so you have Javier Fortuna, who's in that same realm, one of the top guys at lightweight, except these other new coming guys. He's one of the top guys. Fight him. Fight Linares. Fight one of those guys. Who's available right now? Who's available? Because Ryan, if he doesn't fight you, if he doesn't fight Tank, he's going to fight the next best guy. He's going to fight probably Jorge Linares, you know? So you got to create your own lane. You can't wait around and call these guys out. It's not going to work. That I used to say that about Ringendahl back in 122. You wanted Leo Santa Cruz. He wanted Frampton. He wanted all these guys that was the top. But they didn't want to fight him. And he eventually got stripped for inactivity. Same thing with Andre at 154. The WBO eventually stripped him. He wasn't fighting. We didn't want to see him fight bums, but you still got to be active. You know, you got to do something. You know, I know you want to fight the Charlos, Lara. You claim you want to fight Canelo. You want to Cotto at that time. But you got to still be active. So Haney needs to keep fighting. And if the Ryan Garcia could fight, if these fights can happen, then that's great. But in the meantime, you got to take out the other top guys that are available. You know, you got to take them out. Javier Fortuna would be your best win. It'll be along the lines of the Luke Campbell. We can't get Luke. Luke probably got a little bit more credibility, a little bit more than Fortuna. But Fortuna's right there. He's just another guy that, you know, he's been in there with good fighters at 135. And he's just right there. He just hasn't been the elite guy. He's right under that. You know, and he's still good. So take that fight. Who else is there? All right, let's talk about Tank. The thing with Tank is I like Tank a lot. But the thing with Tank is his situation is weird because he's not even really a lightweight. He fought one fight at lightweight. Didn't look too good against an older Gamboa. Struggled a little bit. Got the knockout, but he's been fighting at super featherweight at 130. But he's been fighting all these guys moving up. You know, and I still feel, even though he beat Leo Santa Cruz, who's more established than Pedraza was, right? I still feel like the Jose Pedraza fight was a better win for some reason. Let me explain. Pedraza at that time, Pedraza was a huge leap up in opposition. Huge. You know how Ryan went to fighting all of these guys that weren't that good and went straight to Luke Campbell? That's how I felt like with Tank. Like Tank didn't fight anyone that good yet, and he went straight to Pedraza. And it was a championship fight. You know, like Tank was really unproven, and Pedraza was proven. He was solid, respected, still in his prime. And he's even gone up and collected a belt since that loss. So he's still active. Went up to now, he's all the way up at 140 now. And Tank demolished him on his first test against a champion and a good fighter. Demolished him. Even Lomachenko didn't look as good against him. I know he was coming off surgery, but regardless, Tank destroyed him. That's when everybody was saying Tank would beat Lomachenko. At that moment, Tank, a lot of people was like, yo, he'll beat Lomachenko. That's what everybody was saying. Not everybody, but, you know, you got the Lomachenko and you had the Tank people. The Tank was a discussion at that moment. And it was a good, if you got Tank, it was solid. But for some reason, they didn't go in that direction. For whatever reason, they never went there. They never went there with it. You know? They didn't even go Tevin Farmer. And I think Tank would beat Tevin Farmer. I think he'll beat the brakes off Tevin Farmer. No disrespect, but that's just the way I see it. You know? I think he beat the brakes off him. But he didn't even take that fight. And since then, it's just been like blown up guys from 126. You get what I'm saying? It's just, what's Quaylar and all of these other guys, like, he was supposed to fight Mares too. Mares, the fight didn't happen, but he was supposed to fight Mares at one. Like, why is he fighting these guys at 126? These are not the top guys at 130. What's going on? So he fights Leo, and this is the thing with Leo. People talk about, like, they criticize Ryan Garcia, but at least Ryan Garcia beat an actual guy at 135, right? But you look at Tank's fight against Leo, if you just look at the round he knocked Leo out, I think the 6th round. Yo, Tank got touched up a lot in that fight. I mean, dude, if he were to fight anybody, any top guy at 135 like that, he's getting destroyed. I mean, Leo was hitting him with everything he was throwing. Tank was walking to everything, walking into it. Just look at the last round. Now, I understand he set up a great shot and everything. That's cool. But he was getting hit way, like, a lot up to that fight. That fight was a competitive fight. And the thing is, Ryan Luke was 50-50. Nobody knew what was going down. But Tank, we all knew Tank was going to knock out Leo Santa Cruz. But when the fight is on, I'm like, oh shit, like, nah, this fight is this is a close fight here. You guys see me doing live commentary on that. That was a close fight. And he's fighting a guy at 126 that just recently moved up from 126. He still ain't fighting the top guys at 135. He only fought one time there. One time. Tank is small. Now, I hear people saying, well, what if Tank hit Ryan Garcia with the same shot? I don't know. What if Ryan Garcia hit Tank with the same shot that he hit Luke with? What if he get hit the same shot that Leo Santa Cruz landed? I mean, the difference between the two of them, one is a lot bigger than the other one. I mean, Tank's power is crazy, but it's crazy at 130 against guys moving up the majority of the time to 130. How we know Tank's power is because somebody told me on the live coverage I did the other day that Tank hits harder than Teofimo Lopez. Based on what? What are you basing that on? Him being smaller guys moving up to fight him? Based on what? Teofimo Lopez was knocking out one-shotting proven fighters at 135. One shot. There's a difference. We see what Tank did at 135. We seen him in that one fight. Wasn't that impressive? You stopped him in the last round, but I mean, it's old Gamboa in the last round with one leg. Like, that wasn't all that impressive. That's not something to brag about. You know? Tank seems to be doing his own thing. I mean, he's with the PBC. He's already been on a couple pay-per-views. Maybe a couple, I don't know. Maybe the Leo was the first one. I'm not sure. But he seems to be doing his own thing. And I think a lot of the social media exchanges is all social media. You know, I don't think really much is really coming out of any of that. But, you know, I like Tank, but I really don't think the lightweight thing is a real thing. I think Tank is going to be staying at 130. Okay? And I think that's it. I don't think Ryan is next. But you know what I do find funny, man? What I do find funny is that all these guys, you got a guy that's undisputed or at least holds 4 titles in one division. And the only 2 people that want to fight him out of all those guys I just named is Devin Haney and the guy that just lost to him, Lomachenko. Ryan Garcia doesn't even mention Teofimo Lopez. Tank Davis doesn't even mention Teofimo Lopez. I mean, the guy has 4 titles. Okay, you're a pay-per-view star. You get money. That's cool. But you can have the opportunity, and if you're really as confident as some of your fans are, you can really collect all the belts in one fight. In all the discussions on who's best. You can. That's what I don't understand. And this is why I said in the very beginning of this video, the lightweight division gives me welterweight vibes. Because you can literally collect 4 titles for the price of 1. Teofimo Lopez should be a target right now. He should be getting hunted. The wolves should be out. Devin Haney has been on it. He's always been on it. You know? But that's it. I mean, of course, Lomachenko won him because he just lost to him. But Teo was chasing Loma, which he should be because Loma is the champ. He's a star and all that. But it's just crazy to me how these guys are not even really talking Teofimo Lopez. They talk a lot, but they don't talk about him too much. That's why I respect Devin Haney. I know he doesn't have the best resume. I know he has the weakest resume right now. He does. He does. I'm not going to, let's not sugarcoat it. He does. I might like him as much as I like him. Just doesn't have the resume yet. And it's because these guys don't want to fight him. I don't expect any of these guys to fight each other next. I don't. I think the most likely fight that we're going to get is probably Lomachenko and Lopez too. And if we don't get that, I see Lopez fighting Kambosos. I don't see him fighting Devin Haney. You know, I just don't see it. It can happen. I just don't see it. See Tank fighting Gary Russell Jr. I see Devin Haney fighting Fortuna. And I see Ryan fighting, I don't know, somebody else. Maybe Linares or something. Somebody else there. That's how I see it. So I really don't think this year we're going to really get the real fights. I think we might get one this year between one of these two. The last thing, and I'm going to end this video with this. The last thing is Shakur Stevenson. I think because he's coming up from a lighter divisions, he's moving a lot slower than the rest of these guys. All right? He's just a little smaller. So he started at 126. All these other guys started pretty much like lightweights. Maybe super feather. Shakur Stevenson. Extremely talented. But he has work to do at 126. But I could see at some point whether or not he cleans up the division. It's going to take some time. Maybe not that much time, though. Because at least he's with Top Rank. And Top Rank got a good, solid stable over there. Right? So fights can happen. We're just waiting for this COVID situation. Valdez fights Burchell. You know, Frampton fights Herring. So at least you got those two options right there. He's already confirmed that he's willing to fight the winner of both of those fights, which is cool. Tank, don't see happening. Plus, they're cool and stuff. You know how that friend stuff is going. I don't know how long that's going to last. But, listen, you got Chris Colbert out there, too. Can't forget him. He has a lot of work that he can do at 130. The problem is with Shakur, though, if he comes out on top, because there's a lot of work down there at 130, you know. If he is to come out to be the best guy at 130, by the time he's ready to fight whoever's the best at 135, if they're still there, they're going to either move up or it's going to be being a diva at that point. Whoever it is, whether it's Ryan, whether it's Tio, whatever. Whoever is going to be the top guy at 135, they're going to be a complete diva because that's what these fighters are today. But I think Shakur is the most talented of them all. I think so. And that's just totally me being subjective. It's just based on an eye test, not based on resume, not based on any of that stuff. Yes, he may get knocked out by Burchell on the way to getting into that fight. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. We'll see. We just got to see. But I will say that I think Shakur is the most talented. And I think he's like Devin Haney. I think they can take away some of your best, parts of your game, your best strengths. Devin can do it. I can see Devin doing it. If I compare the 4, right, or the 5, Shakur Stevenson, defensively, number 1 out of them. Defensively, he's the best to me. Offensively, he's a great offensively as well. Extremely fast, great timing, great counter punching, extremely sharp. He just lacks power. He lacks power. I don't know what will happen if he gets hit with a really, really good shot by a puncher like a Burchell. What happens in that situation? That's the only thing I want to know down at 130, okay? Or Chris Colbert, you know what I'm saying? If they were to ever actually fight each other. I just want to see him get hit with a shot he don't see coming and how he reacts to it. That's all I'm waiting for. But on the eye test, I think he has the most. Devin Haney, right under him. Devin Haney has all those skills and qualities. I mean, he's a righty, but I just think Shakur is a little bit further ahead, a little bit, in everything that they do. Just a little bit. I think Devin Haney is another guy. I guess he kind of lacks the power too. I also believe that he's such a smart fighter. The both of them are such a smart fighter that they're not willing to really try to go after a guy. They're gonna play it safe. And I think that's what disappointed a lot of people in the Gamboa fight. I think Gamboa was a guy for him to stop. I know that he won every round, yes, but I think Gamboa in that current state, I think he should have stopped him. All right, try to get him out of there. But he did beautiful boxing in the fight. It's just we wanted to see it in that situation because Gamboa had nothing for you. All right, Teofimo Lopez defensively not as good as the other two. But what he lacks in defense, he brings in power. Okay, he brings in power. He's quick as well. I mean, all of these guys are pretty much fast. Some are faster than the other. But TL, a lot of well-rounded game. He attacks the body well. He counters well. One thing, I don't think he's as good as defensively as the other two are. But what I think is, I think his defense is better than Tank's and Ryan's. Okay. I think Tio, what I do notice is, he got hit a lot in the Nakatani fight. Later in the Lomachenko fight. I mean, that's Loma, so it's not a big deal. But in the Nakatani fight, he didn't look so good. But outside of that fight, like what I do notice that Tio doesn't get hit too much with flush shots. I think he rolls the punches well off his shoulder. I think he turns the punches well too. I can't say that about Ryan. Ryan, his head is kind of dead center. Has a lot of power, very explosive, great hand speed. Okay, we seen a lot in his game in his last fight. The problem is Ryan's head is dead center. Okay, he doesn't slip that well. He doesn't roll that well. He doesn't turn the punches well when he's getting hit. His defense is not that good. It's not that good. He's a good counterer, but for the most part, his head is all straight there. So I think that is probably his biggest weakness, and he needs to work on that, especially he's with Eddie Reynoso. He's with Canelo. They need to work on just his defense, right? You got the speed. You're explosive. You're a big puncher. You got all that. But you got to move your head. You got to move your head because if you are going to fight one of these other top guys who hit harder than Luke Campbell does, you're going to get clipped and you're going to get knocked out. That's one thing he needs to focus on. But I like his power. I like his explosiveness. And I like that he's willing to take risk. And I think that's what makes him excited over a Devin Haney. He's more excited because of that fight. That fight, I like what he did with Luke. I'm bringing the fight to you. He probably is a lot more defensive than what I've seen in that fight, but we didn't see it because he was coming forward. But what I do notice is that a lot of his defense, and I said going into this fight, he's lighter than on his feet. He's not as flat-footed as he always was. And I think in this fight, we didn't see it because he was just trying to knock out Luke. Whereas in other fights against Romero Duno, he was a lot lighter on his feet and moved a lot more, because this guy was coming straight at him. All right. So I think a lot of his defense is used for his feet. He needs to work on bending at the waist a little bit more, slipping shots, rolling punches, turning the punches when they land. I don't think he's good at seeing the punches coming that much. All right. I think he's good at timing the left hook for sure. But outside of that, I don't see him slipping the shots well, getting out of the way of the shots. Tank, another thing with him, same thing with him. What Tank lacks is height and reach, okay? He's good at gauging distance and getting in and getting whiffs inside. The thing is, if he's going to fight these guys at 135, he has to be a lot careful because guys like Ryan, it's not going to... Guys that compare Ryan performance, you got to understand, Ryan don't have to come to him because Tank is usually coming inching closer and closer because he's shorter. He doesn't have the reach. He needs to get it, but he needs to slip the shots and counter. He doesn't need to be coming forward and just be taking all the punches like he did against Leo. Is he going to do that against Ryan, T.O., Devin Haney, all these other fighters? No, he can't do that. He can't take the same approach. You know, and if he gets touched that much like he did against Leo, he might get knocked out. You know, his eyes, his face still was red. It was a little swollen in that Leo fight. And this is a guy that recently moved up from 126 who isn't a knockout artist. He's not a knockout artist. He's a volume puncher. Okay, a volume puncher. So Tank needs to needs to work on that. The defense. I like him like the same way I like Ryan and Tio. They're explosive. They're gonna try to get you out of there. They're gonna try to outbox you, but they're gonna try to get you out of there. They're willing to take risks and stuff. I've always enjoyed watching Tank fight. The only fight I really didn't enjoy was, of course, the Gamboa fight because he just didn't look like he really was physically prepared for that fight, to fight long rounds. You know what I'm saying? And when the knockout didn't come, he started looking really, really bad against an older man. And you don't want to look tired. You don't want to look that way against an older guy. He looks like he didn't prepare. Plus, is his focus still really on the sport? People question his focus. You know, he got the fame and everything. Do you really love boxing still? Or are you just doing it to get the money? Do you just doing it because you're good at it? You know? And I feel that about Broner. You know, I feel that way. That whole Broner vibe, he has the same kind of thing, you know, getting into stuff outside of the sport, missing weight, stuff like that. Or is your focus really still there? Are you hungry like that? It seems like he's getting it back a little bit. I'm glad that Floyd's playing it real close to him. I think he needs some push, but he needs to get to a point where he's 100% focused. And if he becomes that, I still believe what I first saw in his earlier fights leading up to that Pedraza win. I still thought at that point that Tank, that version of Tank, I just felt like, damn, this dude might be the next Floyd. But for somewhere after that, I don't know, man. He just hasn't looked as good to me. And I think he could get like that again, but he has to want it. Not a fan. He has to want it for himself, you know? And that's how I see. I'm not sure how he does against these other guys on 135. I really not, and including Shakur Stevenson and a Chris Colbert. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he does. Even at 130, I'm not sure. You know, he has the potential, but how long are we gonna keep? I don't want to keep saying potential with anybody that's older than all the rest of these guys I just named, because now I sound like I'm trying to cape for him, like with Broner for years. Potential, focus Broner, blah 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 blah. Nah. Broner, the thing is Broner. Good fighter, but anytime he stepped up, he pretty much lost. It's not blaming on the focus. Let's start calling it as it is. You know? So at some point with Tank, I'm going to have to start calling it as it is. Because the way I see it, yeah, you got some good wins. The Leo Santa Cruz fight was arguably knockout of the year. But, yo, what can you really do when you can't get the knockout? And a fighter you're fighting has power, has the reach and height advantage, and they're outboxing you. What do you do then? You know? So, a lot of questions with him. And he has more experience than all of these guys. And I feel like I have more questions with him than the rest of these guys. Some of the rest of them. Not all of them, but because some of them are less proven. Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney. But I just don't know. All right, so I think I addressed everything in this video. Very long. I wanted to do it like a podcasty kind of way because there was a lot to talk about. There's a lot that came up this week. But I think I covered pretty much everything here. So again, make sure you guys subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll see you guys on the next one, all right? Peace.